Hello and welcome. In this particular devlog session, we are going to review the work that we have done on Profiled, which is a product by ThoughtJumper. And Profiled is an application which has two different aspects to it. One, which is totally AI to AI based, where it serves as a very advanced autonomous discovery engine which creates hypotheses in the domain of healthcare, mathematics, physics, chemistry, economics, and tries to find empirical solutions or mathematical proofs depending on the domain. And the second aspect that we are going to talk about, or rather show you in this particular session, which is the focus of our session today, is Profiled, uh, which helps user understand their life and journey and career. It's a career intelligence platform where we use the quantum annealing based on the quantum metaphor, try to understand where the user stands across different aspects of his life. Let me log in as a user. This user has all the access. Eventually, when a new user joins, there's an onboarding process and he needs to provide information about who he is, and the system accordingly, based on the user's profile, personalizes and contextualizes this entire journey. When I log in as a user, I'm taken to a dashboard which gives me a quick summary of where I stand right now. So I have completed my first quest. I've done a few interviews. uh, Let me tell you a little about Profiled. So Profiled has three main interactions. One is called a story quest, which is a scenario based, layer based assessment where different kinds of scenarios and situations are thrown to the user and he needs to respond on those scenarios, and based on his behavior and DNA, a lot of different kinds of assessments are done. Second one is an AI interview, and the AI interview is one human, one AI, where the user talks to the AI like a human, like he would talk to a human, and the AI asks several questions to understand, based on the situation, what the user is thinking, what is his thought process, where is he headed. And this is from the perspective of his career, but it tries to extract useful information which may be a catalyst to how he is doing in his career or how he can move forward. So right now we are on the dashboard. Like I said, I just completed a career vision discovery. I'll show you this interview, and there is another interview which is set up for me right now, which is skill assessment interview. I have been playing with it for the last 4 days continuously, so the streak is of 4 days, and I've earned 8 rewards and 50 or 5400 points. There are future sessions that show up here, and these sessions, you know, keep me guided on what I need to focus on next. Let us understand this particular user. Whenever the user does activities in the system, whether it is a scenario based story quest, or whether it is an AI interview, or whether it is multi human, multi AI collaboration, which is study sessions, it generates a life composition report for that user. Let me show you what this looks like. So, in plain English, it tells me how well I am doing overall, what is working well, who am I, a personal note for me, the big picture, where am I headed, something that I might have missed, and question that I need to think about, and a rough plan of what I should be doing. Then it goes into further detail and it shows me how well it understands me and how it scores me on certain aspects. So it understands me really well, who I am. And during these interviews, these were technical interviews and were part of the session where I was testing it. So my emotions score is very less. And also with respect to my hidden challenges, there are a lot of hidden challenges that it sees because these were actual interviews that I did while building this application. It also tells me, my life's rhythm, where it does a bit of harmonic analysis and a dissonance analysis to understand what is the overall tone. In this particular case, the tone is of emotional quality and I'm transforming from one role to another. We'll talk about it later. Then there are 12 life tracks: identity, emotional, relationship, career, purpose, health, growth, values, shadow, aspiration, and behavioral. And when I expand on these, it clearly understood that I'm a technology entrepreneur who wants to be a pioneering AI researcher, and it figures out my strength, figures out my areas for development, figures out what are my hurdles. Similarly, for on the emotional aspect, he tries to understand, you know, how I go about doing my work, how I talk about it. It gives me some cues as well. Same goes for relationship and so on. Let me go further. The harmonic analysis that I was talking about tells me that my career and aspirations are very much aligned in perfect consonance in my career trajectory, and I can again expand this to understand what this means. This is where you are and where you want to go. Similarly, what are my values and purpose? What is my health and growth looking like? And you'll see that it is sorted by the topmost. Similarly, it does a dissonance analysis. What are the conflicts that it figured out? So while I was building this, it would ask me questions and I would just try to shy away from it because I didn't want to get into that detail. I want to end the interview quickly. So it figured out that there is a high avoidance pattern that I showcase, and it also brings cues from the interviews of where this happens. It figured out there are three different kinds of conflicts, and then it figured out my actual self versus my aspirational self. What are the conflicts? So in this case, it understood that I want to work with US researchers scaling in the new AI research. That is my future vision. But I have my, current work that I also need to work on because this was a research and development driven project. Then further, it tries to, from the interviews, try to understand, can it start a discussion or another AI interview focusing on, different kinds of conflicts, and gives me a quick plan and a detailed plan. There is an advanced view which gives me more detail on how this was figured out, what were my reflections, what was the hidden opportunity, how am I scoring on these, and I can view this as a report as well. I'll skip that for now. Once I have done that, let me show you other features that we have in the system. So like I mentioned, there is a story quest. There are several story quests here. These story quests are responsible for throwing situations at me, and when a particular situation is thrown at me, it shows me how do I respond to it. Based on this, I'll just quickly click through, and I hope you'll understand. Based on my choices, it tries to understand my behavioral DNA and then tries to, through spaced repetition and contextual understanding, teach me new things. Once this is over, this takes me to a story report page, and in the story report page it tells me there were 5 scenes. On an average I took 6 seconds per scene. Total I took 32 seconds. I made 5 choices. And when I click on view analysis, this page continues to refresh. These will refresh. As you can see, these are still being worked upon. We'll come back to this later. My decision speed was 9 on 10. My pattern consistency was 1 on 10. My decisiveness was 4 on 10. My diversity of approach was 10 on 10. And then it also tries to understand my risk profile, tries to show how analytical I am, how intuitive I am, how collaborative I am, and then creates a decision making profile for me. Further, with each of these layers, I can quickly go and see in further detail what was the option. When I chose that, what did it really reflect? I was thoughtful about this or I was not. What was the insights I gained? What was my decision style that it understood? It does so by understanding my choices and maps it to how an AI would choose of my particular profile. So whenever my profile, I log in and start working, there are 3 synthetic users that get created, and those synthetic users, 2 of them are like me, 1 is not like me. It tells me what paths I didn't take, what were the kind of challenges, how was I going about it, what kind of things it revealed about me, and what did I really exhibit. It also throws some reflection insight on where I am headed based on every decision that I make. This is for all of these. There's a brief summary here, but I can click on any of these and this accordingly changes. Paths that I didn't take, reflection insight, and so on. There's also a timeline view. In the timeline view, it shows me in better detail what were my alternatives, and I can again compare those. So this is quite detailed. It shows me my decision speed profile, how much time was I thoughtful, how many times was I moderate, and how many times I was fast. Now since this has loaded, as you can see, this is a final verdict of who I am, and it reflects further details on my decision patterns, on my risk assessment, my logical consistency, my adaptability, my missed opportunities, and so on. So this is how a scenario based simulation assesses me. Similarly, I can go to the interviews and you'll see that these interviews populated over time. It started with 1 and then it continued. These are different kinds of AI interviews that were generated specifically for me, which helps me understand different aspects of my life, like how micro experiments I do, what kind of micro experiments I do. Am I wearing a mask? What is the cost of that mask? Because I was trying to impersonate certain cases, so that's why it figured this out. I can go ahead and start this interview. When I do that, this interview starts. I will not get started here. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you one of the interviews that I did. So you can see that there are different kinds of interviews that I did, starting from career vision. Since I was testing this, I did it several times. Let me try to click on any one of these. I have to unlock it with gems. I failed this one, so maybe I should choose something where I did actually pass. The score here is good. What are the key insights? What are my growth areas? How did it analyze me on several aspects that it could figure out? My self-awareness, vulnerability, pattern recognition, emotional intelligence. This changes according to the interview. What kind of insights did it develop about me? And then it again, based on how I talk and the kind of things, it quotes some of those. It tries to understand my breakthrough moments, my pattern recognition, next steps, behavioral insights, conversation synthesis, session highlights, personal growth recommendations, practice vulnerable storytelling about your why. It gives me some cues as well. And all of this, I have the entire transcript of what was the conversation, how did it happen, and I can also go ahead and see this.
Hey, I'm really excited to explore your career vision with you today. Let me start with something that often reveals a lot. If you could design your ideal work life 5 years from now, what would be the biggest difference from today? Don't filter yourself. Just tell me what comes to mind.
Would like to be in a position where I'm able to leverage and focus on the work and the kind of work that I want to do, which is mostly research oriented, uh, which can bring some certain kind of impact in the society. Spending 22 years working in the learning and technology ecosystem, building products for people, almost 65 plus projects. I would like to really, towards the second stage of my career, start to be in a position where I'm able to empower and help organizations benefit at scale. And at the same time, move towards projects where the governments can really adopt AI.
That's a powerful vision. I can hear a lot of passion in your voice when you talk about leveraging your experience to create societal impact. Let's dig deeper into a few aspects of your vision. One, research-oriented work. What kind of research are you most passionate about? Is it purely technological, or are there specific societal issues you're looking to address with AI? Two, impact at scale. When you talk about impact, what does that look like for you? Are there specific metrics or outcomes you envision? Three, empowering.
So I'll pause it here. Now I'll show you the analysis insights. So it figured out, that this was a key moment, a breakthrough moment when I was casual, and then I suddenly, changed gears and grilled me to the point where I had to leverage my understanding, really get into the detail. So that's how an interview works. Let me go to different kinds of problems that it can teach me on the career intelligence bit. So there are 170 high value problems from different categories, and these categories would include, you know, things that really apply in a career, whether uh, whether it is about negotiation, what kind of it can teach me about salary negotiation, founder fundraising negotiation, and this can happen both with a story quest as well as an AI interview. Multi-party negotiations, how can I overcome price objections, how can I close, or it could also teach me about financial independence, how do I plan that, wealth building, startup equity, and so on, or future proofing myself, how can I get into AI, or how can I improve my skills, how can I go about geographic hedging strategies where I can build options for myself in multiple locations, multiple markets, a growth trajectory, and so on. These are some of the, you know, issues like life integration. So these are different kinds of issues that anybody talks about, goes through in his life, and these are some high value problems that we have identified. And using the story quest that I showed you and the AI interview, and in combination, it captures my profile, contextualizes it based on the problem, you know, tries to bring in an understanding of who I am through the life composition report. And every time I go through an interview, every week I get a chance to do a life composition report which shows my trajectory of how I'm changing. That's how this works. I can also create my unique learning thread. So let's say I want to say business path. Say I want to start a company. What do I need to learn? Create a thread, and then I can add problems to those threads, saying I need to know how to talk technical stuff to non-technical people. I can add that to the thread. I can add more problems saying, growth trajectory. I want to at the same time improve my network effect building on how I build relationships with other people. So, and then I can start a story quest or an interview, and based on that, then it will show me, of course, insights of how much time is left, how many problems have I chosen. You can go ahead and edit it. I will not save this for now. I'll just go back. This is my business path, so I can create my own custom paths in combination of the different kinds of things that I can do. So that's how high value problems really show up. These are the different kinds of story quests, and you will notice, since this user has almost everything, of course you could not build everything, but different kinds of challenges like science to policy, data to business, high stakes salary negotiation, and so on. Even simulations for that matter. It can also show me that if I had to go through $100 million AI investment presentation, how should I go about it? Global product launch, how should I go about it? So there are different kinds of simulations in story quest, and similarly there are different kinds of interviews. And because of the interviews and the story quests that I do, there are different kinds of automatically generated deep dives where I can continue my previous interview, and some things cannot be spoken about in just 30 minutes. So maybe culmination of 3 30-minute sessions is how an interview sequence works. And these were from the conflicts that it figured out about me. Study sessions, this is something that I'm most excited about. I will not show this to you today, but this is really interesting because this brings study alone with AI, study with a friend, so you and your friend can talk to an AI, study with three to six people. And when you do that, there are different kinds of formats, whether you want to solve a problem, prepare for an interview, general study, presentation practice, what is the difficulty level. And here you have different kinds of AIs that can debate, and you can just passively observe them, learn, get into a breakout room, come back with a problem. This is one of the bigger features. This is something which I'm most excited about, but we'll keep it for another session. Everything that I do in the system, it works through gems. So I can buy more gems, and these gems I use to do these interviews. I can add more gems, and all the purchases I make, is captured. I'm a Spark Plan user right now, and it shows me here all the purchases that I make. So it tries to understand my spending pattern as well, helps me optimize it. Similarly, if I want to do something very custom, so I can upload my own document. I've uploaded one. You can upload your document, and based on the document you can again generate a story quest or an AI intro. These are custom just for you. So organizations can leverage that, creating special, aspects. These are the badges that I got. Some of these are test badges, as you can see, but this is how the badges really work. These were the most recent ones, and based on my explorations I get these tags and these badges. My basic info here, which career I can go ahead and fill these, and accordingly it will contextualize how am I going about doing things with the application. So that's how uh, the AI understands me better than any other application out there. And while we were building this, we learned about something really super, and we have written extensively about those things here. What is profiled? It's we notice that it's built on a quantum biological AI organism metaphor, and there are two aspects to it. This is the other aspect, we'll talk about this later, but there is a DNA transfer that happens. And why did we really build Profiled? How does it work? If you want to read about that, what kind of problems really the organizations face, we have some really good articles here, which teaches me more about how these things work. How does Profiled work? This is the inside of how the system works. When it traditional approach, it works like you are your leader. Yes, I think so. They ask you 4 letter, type something, then try to give me some career advice. Profile does it differently. It observes you over 500 decisions and then tries to map it accordingly. There are some really beautiful diagrams to explain the philosophy behind Profiled and how the quantum concept is applied here. So depending on multiple states, there are some 342 vectors which get updated, and then we figure out which ones are entangled, and based on that wave function collapse, we are able to leverage this better. There are several. This Profile is just one piece. In future we intend to build other applications. We have done some experiments there, but I will still call them experiments, but we are extensively working on some of those. How do these portals connect, like based on my cognitive style, my frequency pattern, my persona evolution, what kind of things am I saying, what is my life composition, how much of that is possible. It is maps all of that across 300 dimensions. The list of all dimensions here, and then based on how one user does it, the second user does it, and many users do it, it does a collective match. The collective wisdom is collected to really understand how things would work. And there are different kinds of model behind under the hood. And so this is structure of how these things really feed into each other. Different users, different choices. There's a pattern extraction that happens. Those proven patterns are then applied to new users. How does the decision tree work? This is what is a gem, how does the gem economy work, the technical architecture. So there's some really extensive details on how this is calculated, how is my persona calculated, what are the 9 layers, why does each of these layers work, a lot of detail on that. How does my session, how does it understand my frequency, what is optimal, what is not. And then over time, the goals change. When I'm a junior developer, my goal is to learn React. When I'm a senior developer, I have to do much more architecture or advanced patterns, and when I become a team leader, it completely changes. So it understands that, and based on that understanding, it tries to see where do I stand on each of these spectrums, and all of these together builds my life composition that I spoke about. So there is extensive detail on how this application works, what are those 340 dimensions that we spoke about. All of these are scored, and not once but many times, to understand who am I, where am I headed, what should I be doing. So some really good articles there. I will skip to the next one. Then we have also identified the high value problems. What are high value problems? These are problems that really people face in real life, and we try to solve it using AI human interactions, real time AI and human interactions, multi AI, multi human interactions, which is study sessions. These are the three different modes in how these work. Then there is an AI to AI interactions where it jumps into scientific discoveries. Those are again something where we try to go about solving some of these really extensive problems on, Alzheimer's or protein folding, and through LLMs and through 64 different branches of mathematics using tools like lemma, we try to also go about mathematical proofs. This is still, in some of these problems, we are confident that we have some really good hypotheses, especially in the healthcare division. For some, like the mathematical proofs, we gave it Collat's conjecture. It worked on it autonomously, came up with 10 GB of code, which was very difficult to verify. For us, we'll need a mathematician perhaps to really do that. Researchers out there, we are looking for collaborations. You can contact us, you can talk to us, and we'll give you the access. And then there are some devlog videos on how this entire system again works. This devlog video, for example.
Hello and welcome to this quick sneak peek.
I will just quickly brush through and show you like how our system works. Why am I calling it a quantum biological application? It has a brain, it has temporal computer, it has myelin cache to understand different pathways, it has antibodies and anti-immune system so that the application doesn't break, error recovery, and so on. The research bit that I was talking about, these are the discoveries that it is trying to do. Let me go on some of these discoveries perhaps. So you'll say these discoveries range from mathematics to physics to chemistry. It tries to look for data in academic literature and patents, tries to identify the white space, and then tries to map all of that together. And then we have theorem provers, we have molecule simulators. So for chemistry it is RDKit, for mathematics it's lean, for other branches, other domains, we have different methods. SymPy for symbolic mathematical annealing, matplotlib. But this is something which we'll release as we go along. I think that's good enough for the sneak peek on what is profiled, how does it work, why did we build it, what is the human facing aspect of it. And this is an internal devlog, not so polished, but in a crude way, trying to quickly summarize the work that we do here at ThoughtJumper. ThoughtJumper was built with an understanding of how do humans think and how can we really advance it. With that thought, I will close this session. Thank you so much for your patience.